What is up, nerds? Welcome back to episode 32 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. And this week we have a title sponsor, PB Vision. So for all of you who may not know, PB Vision is an AI-driven tool where you can upload your videos and it basically does all the work for you. It analyzes your video after a few minutes and then it provides an in-depth analysis of every shot and every player in that game. This is a tool I've actually used in the past, which is why we have decided to partner with PV Vision to offer some really great value to our viewers. And you can use the link in the description, which will give you 15 additional credits when you sign up for PB Vision Premium. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about it and show the software itself. But Justin, I'll kind of let you lead that for us real quick, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to put some video up here so you guys can kind of see how it works, the software. And then also we wanted to pull out a few specific items that, personally provided value to us. So, we've talked about it on the podcast. Our tournament performance is not ideal, right? And in the past, a huge thing, at least for me, and also kind of for Lewis, has been serves and returns. Such a simple thing, but was just really missing way too many returns, and it was costing us. We were giving away free points. One of the really cool things about PB Vision is one of the base screens that you can see. It's really easy to see your both serve and return percentages that you made or missed, or if went in the net. And it also shows you your serve depth and how many serves you've served deep or shallow, which is, as everybody knows, basically the most important thing on a serve. You don't always have to hit it hard, but if you hit it deep, you give yourself a lot of opportunities. So I personally really love that page where you can dig in and you can click on any of the four players in the game and see individual stats for them. It shows every shot on the court, and it's this very interactive 3D view, and you can see each individual shot as well as those general stats about serves and returns. The software, of course, offers a lot more, but for me, that was like something I knew I had to go look at immediately because that was something I was personally working on. Another one that I think is super cool, and this is in a different tab, is that you can essentially do a shot filter. So, for instance, something that I did was I went to the shot filter, and we'll put up a screenshot here showing how you can select basically any player in the game, any type of shot that they hit, and even what side and what direction it was going to. So in the screenshot, you'll see I was looking at myself and all of my thirds because I wanted to check my third percentages, my third direction, and things like that. As soon as you filter that and then you get out of that menu, it takes you to the actual video of the gameplay, and it will run you through, cut out basically everything but those third shots. And you could be even more specific. You could say backhand thirds, third drives, third drops, however you wanted to filter. So super valuable.
I didn't even know you could go that granular. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, you can go super deep. So, for me, for instance, I was third shot drives were a big point of emphasis for me. So I wanted to look at my third shot drives throughout these games, and not having to scrub through a bunch of gameplay to find every third shot drive. Just like literally click on myself, click third, click drive, and then you immediately get every clip of every third shot drive. That's amazing. That saves you so much time and effort.
I've thought about using this for reviews, like going through footage faster and easier so I don't have to like cull through it. Because this does it for you, But,
yeah, you can select dinks. You can select basically any type of shot you can think of. So extremely cool and just a very valuable tool if you want to kind of dig in into the specifics of your gameplay. And even at a higher level, you said this already, Lewis, even if you just want to watch it back, but you don't want to do a bunch of editing, you can just upload the raw video and it will automatically cut out all the dead time. A ball gets hit to the next court. Yeah, someone has to walk over there and get it and come back. Well, that's like 15 seconds, right? So those little things add up. And trust me, I know because I've been manually editing my videos. Yes. These videos will go from, what would be otherwise 18-minute videos down to 7-minute videos when you cut out all the dead time. So
yeah, that is a truly, it's almost like funny, but like really, when you watch a lot of your game footage back, you will know how painful it is to go through it and skip all the dead parts because you're fast forwarding. Oops, stop. You went a little too far. It's makes it very easy. But did you get a chance to kind of look at some stats? I did. I guess I'll go first, but I also, like Justin said, am really working on my returns. And although I hit way less returns out this tournament, it was kind of insane how bad my returns still are. Because only one game, you'll see the stats right now, did I hit more than 50% of my returns deep. In one of the games, I hit my returns, 33% of them were shallow. 44% were shallow, and 33% were medium. And then my best return game was 54% deep and 38% shallow. So returns are bad. They're really bad, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we're giving people, an easier out to get to the kitchen, or a easier shot to hit a third shot drive. So seeing these stats really puts in perspective. We may feel like we're not playing bad, but we're still losing sometimes. And we're like, how are we losing these games when we feel like we played well? This kind of paints a very apparent and obvious picture for anybody who's struggling to figure out what it is that's kind of your downfall. So you had some screenshots on here. What was your big takeaway?
Well, varied wildly from game to game. I had some games where great thirds, like really, great high percentages, and even a lot of percentage, like points that were won off the thirds. And then you just go to another game and it's like, oh, I missed 40% of my third shots. So
yeah,
it's cool to dig into. And I think that, over the next however many weeks here, this will be a cool way for us to talk about PB Vision once we dive in deeper and show maybe even some progress personally.
Yeah.
So for me specifically, this time around, this tournament, I was mostly looking at serves and returns because that was a glaring issue. And for me personally, it seemed to be vastly improved, just the consistency. And for the most part, I had over 50% deep serves almost every game. So
yeah. And
I did miss a few, but I wasn't ever missing more than 2 ever in any game. And most of the time, it was just every game I missed 1. But I feel like that's okay. That's in the budget to miss 1 if the rest of them are deep.
Yeah, I had quite a few 100%, and then I had 1, 2 missed serves and one missed serve game. So yeah, it happens. I mean, no big deal. I think returns are much more high risk. Not high risk, but much more valuable points to make sure that you get right. But yeah, lots of really good stuff to dig into. I also like that it shows you your percentage of in and out shots and how many excellent, average, poor, and what was the other one? Good shots that you hit. So that's a really good thing. So PB Vision will be a title sponsor going forward, and it really is an awesome software, and we're very thankful to partner with PB Vision. Again, if you wanted to sign up for PB Vision, you can use the link in the description, which will give you 15 additional credits when you sign up for PB Vision Premium. So we got lots more to talk about today. Justin, let's go ahead and run through the queue. What we got?
We're going to do a quick tournament recap because we have to. Okay, we're going to ignore it as much as we can. We're going to try to use our best avoidance tactics here, but we got to at least talk about it, all right?
Sorry, guys. We got to be really fast with this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have to for our own egos. We are going to touch on the USAP Media Day, and I mean that literally. We're just going to touch on it because we weren't there personally, and honestly, it's getting a lot of great coverage. So we'll touch on that.
Yeah, many people will have a better, more in-depth things than we do that have already covered it. So no reason to.
Yeah, I don't want to beat another dead horse.
That's right.
And we're going to, of course, go over some paddles. Always got to go over some paddles, the paddle cues. And then we'll get into, the meat and potatoes of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast with net gains. New week, new main. Might actually have something this time. And NERDTOWN. So we'll finish off there. All right, Lewis.
All right.
What are we going to say about the tournament, dude? What do you want to say?
All right. Well, here's the thing. I don't ever ever want to think about this tournament ever again after this podcast is published. We played in 4-0 and 3-5. To be specific, it was 4-4-9 and under and 3-9-9 and under. So it was a money ball tournament in Houston. We both traveled there. And Justin and I, we didn't do that great. I'll be perfectly honest and take all of the blame for the 4-0 tournament debacle, if you will. I played like shit in 4-0.
Well, all's fair. All's fair at love and war, because I have to take all the blame for the 3-5 tournament. So yeah, to be clear, we played 4-0 bracket.
Either.
What's that?
Yeah. I said, I don't even know if you're to blame for 3-5.
I don't know. I don't know that I can bring myself to watch those games back.
I will let you take the blame to make me feel a little bit better.
Sure.
What would a good spouse do? What else would a good spouse do?
These were in the same day. And we played the 4-0 bracket in the morning and then the 3-5 bracket in the afternoon. I counted up. We played 19 games in that day.
Bro, I know.
And
we played so many games.
How many? 7 of those were to 15. And then the rest of them were to 11. So it was a lot of playing in one day. But honestly, that wasn't even an excuse for us. I don't think we were physically, empty or anything, right?
Real quick, I wanted to say Pala ran a very good tournament.
Yeah.
We got to play a lot of games, and we were on time for every game.
That's true.
Now, there was a lot of people in 3-5, so it was a long tournament.
It's 23
which is
teams.
Understandable. But we never waited more than like 15 minutes between games.
No, and they were on top of it.
Yeah, so there were some rumblings around. There's some reviews on Google that could be very, could scare you off. But I will say we had a very good experience. We played the owner in 4-0. He was super nice. He was a very good player, actually, as well. Very crafty and annoying to play against, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
He just had, very good shots. But yeah, just wanted to say, Pala, you did a great job putting together a very smooth tournament. So continue, man.
Okay, I'm going to give you the speed run. Okay, 4-0. We played the first match. Honestly, solid match. Our opponent's very nice, probably even close to equal our skill. We win in 3 games. Cool. So we actually won our first game of the tournament. First time that's ever happened. Feels good, man. Baby. Okay. Then
big things coming, bro.
Yeah, exactly. We go into the next match. We're hyped. These guys we played are good and also annoying. They lobbed me like 3 times in a row. And it was kind of close, but then we lost the first game. We go into the second game. It goes downhill fast, okay? It goes downhill fast. That match, we end up losing 2 games pretty quickly. Next game.
Yeah.
Now, coming off that loss, I think both of us are a little frustrated. But in particular...
But we can still do this.
Lewis started spiraling a little bit in the third match. I sent him the video at one point. I even walked up to him and grabbed him by the shoulders, and I was like, snap out of it, dude. It's okay. And spoiler alert, he did not snap out of it. So, not saying I played perfect.
The deepest and darkest of places.
So, we scrubbed out.
Dinks.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was rough.
And after losing that game, we knew pretty much we weren't going to make it out of pool play, and that just kind of kills your vibe, kills your motivation. So we ended up losing the next game. Just almost, you could see that we were kind of deflated and lazy. So boom, there goes 4-0. We didn't make it out of pool play.
Don't get me wrong. I wanted to win that last match.
Oh, and yeah.
It was one of those days where your strengths are not there. And when your strengths aren't there, oh my God, dude. It is very
But your weaknesses are still there.
Those weaknesses always be there, bruh.
Yeah.
We got lots of them.
So we actually had a lot of time. We went and chilled and showered and ate, and I think got revitalized for 3-5. And I felt pretty good coming in.
We were in a good
the 3-5
spot,
tournament was huge. 23 teams. And I'm unironically, the 3-5 tournament to me was so much more difficult and competitive than 4-0. It was crazy. And in multiple ways.
Multiple teams that we played, specifically the last dude, Isaiah and his brother.
Oh yeah.
were some of the better players that we played all day.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
They
so
beat
shout
the
out Isaiah.
shit out of us.
Yeah, we can't watch that video.
Yeah.
They beat us bad. It was the last game of the day.
Yeah.
It was rough, but they played awesome, and I think they ended up getting fourth. So shout out to those guys. They were nice dudes. But 3-5, man, it was like way harder. It was just so much more unpredictable. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on, and then I got in my head a little bit now this time around, even though I did pretty good mentally in 4-0. And there was a couple games, serial lobbers, dude. God, it gets to me.
There were a lot of people in our 399 and under bracket who were over 399.
Oh yeah, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, but I'm not like scared away by someone who's 4 or 5 or whatever.
I'm just saying it was a legitimately good, a very good pool, and we did not play very well. We didn't play terrible. There was a couple games there where we had some trouble. Yeah. So we didn't make it out of pool either. So we didn't make it out of pool in 4-0 or 3-5. We had essentially a losing record in both of them. All right, that's that. That's the tournament. Yeah, now we can never talk about it ever again. For everyone who said play 399 and under, you were right. We were wrong.
Well,
you're handsome. We're ugly.
But to be fair, the 399 and under was way harder. We actually had a better chance for success in the 4-0 one, I feel like. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It's on us either way. Another poor performance, but that's okay.
Which begs the question, Justin. We talked about this. Now, we are an excellent team on this podcast. We're an excellent team as a couple. Are we just not a good team on the pickleball court?
I think not. At least not right now. So
it hurts, man.
I know. Lois and I had decided we're not going to play any more tournaments together. At least, and it's not. No one's salty. You know, we're not like mad or anything. There was no yelling at each other.
I'm actually mad that we can't play well with each other. Not
I don't know what it is.
Like I'm. No big deal. Like, it's probably best for us not to play competitively in a tournament. It's probably more me because like I get uber competitive and like want to win, and you're kind of like in the middle. You're just like, yeah, I want to freaking win, but like you don't take it as serious.
No, I do.
I feel like I could be wrong.
I do, but I also feel the pressure that I got to be the one to keep it chill because I feel like I got to be like reining you back in. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, we're at least not for a while. We won't play together. And in fact, I'm going to personally take time away from tournaments for a while, regardless of partner. Going to focus on some other things, some improvement. I have to revamp some parts of my game, which is not ideal for tournaments. And I have a lot of work stuff and testing to do, which is also not ideal for playing tournaments. So I'm just going to take some time away from tournaments.
We will continue to play together, not in a tournament setting. So don't think that we'll never... No, we will.
Maybe.
You look at me right now. We will.
Maybe.
All right. We're in this together. Okay. So we will play fun stuff, but not tournament stuff until we figure out how to play together and not suck in tournaments. So anyway, hey man, did you know that USAP had a media day last week?
Yes.
Oh, I did.
Okay, I'm gonna go for the quick rundown. Okay. USAP invited some media, which ended up being, basically a lot of the podcasters / reviewers, and some of the manufacturers to Element Labs. Element US Space and Defense Labs is like where they do their third-party testing for the PB Core and all that. The meeting consisted of a tour of the lab, showing them the different ways that they do their testing for the PB Core and other tests. And then they brought in the manufacturers and everybody into a conference room, and they did essentially a PowerPoint demonstration of the upcoming proposed spin test, RPM test, and as well as a long Q&A. And everything that happened in that conference room was also broadcast virtually on Zoom. So I was in that Zoom. It was like over 2 hours. Lewis was in there for a good part of it. And then also the people who were there in person, we all knew they were going. So luckily I got a lot of recaps from the things that I missed, the demos. Shout out to specifically to John.
TLDR, go to speakpickleball.com and you can look at their recap.
But that's what I was going to say.
Anyway.
Yeah, John at Speak Pickleball, he was there, and we'll put the link in the description. If you want all the details, just go read it, because I'm not going to go into it all. I wasn't even there, but I do want to hit on some key things real quick, okay?
Same.
Spin test. Let me tell you guys how this works. They clamp a paddle 45 degrees, right? Like this. It's clamped, it's hard, it can't move, it's static. Fire a ball out of an air cannon. Pretty sure it's at 30 miles per hour. It hits the center of the paddle, and then, it'll bounce off essentially and spin this way. They have two very high-speed, high-quality cameras that then, correlate the data and measure the RPMs of spin. What?
Didn't they go on like a 30-minute tirade about how high quality they were?
Yes. Yeah. It was that part was like crazy. But anyway, they really wanted to make us or let us know that their cameras are super nice. Okay, they're very nice. I actually think that I have no doubts about the cameras or the technology. Right? They're two really high speed cameras. Of course, can accurately count the RPMs of a spinning ball. That's fine. Mm-hmm. However, is this implementation, is this test going to be accurate to a real world application of how much a paddle feels like it spins? We shall see, because, PB core is a whole thing. It may not be, the results may not be accurate to our subjective feel of power. Okay, so that's the spin test. They talked about the Rhombus launch or fail to launch. I'm not going to go into it. Go read about it. Okay. There was some talk about other delistings. We're not going to talk about that either. And we will let official statements from USAP and or the brands that make those paddles give you the facts, okay? So I don't want to get into any conjecture. So we'll just wait, and if you want info on those, you'll have to look it up, wait for it to come out, or go to another podcast. We'll give you more conjecture.
No fake news here, all right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. We try to stay out of the drama as much as we can. Another interesting point of contention was essentially for an hour and a half, the brands in the Q&A session kept trying to bring up to USAP that they need to do some kind of destructive testing to test for break-in, paddles that break in, and what do they call degrade to advantage or degrade for performance. Essentially, they break in and get more powerful. We all know the paddles everyone's talking about, okay? And the manufacturer's saying, hey, USAP, you need to test for this. You need to test a new paddle, and then you need to break in a paddle and or do destructive testing and then test it again to make sure then it will continue to pass. They were pressing them for like an hour and a half before USAP finally came around and said, okay, we might have to look into it. But for the first hour and a half, Lewis, why don't you tell the people what USAP's response was to this request?
Truly one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard. Somebody who makes sure that whatever it is that they are sanctioning or is making sure that they're in spec, they literally said it should be up to the manufacturers to make sure that their paddles stay within spec, which is equivalent to saying, a police officer saying, hey, criminals shouldn't break the law. We're not going to check if they're breaking the law. We should just expect that they don't break the law.
We expect compliance.
Not saying that
comply with the laws.
Not saying that manufacturers are criminals. That's a horrible analogy, but to paint the picture ugly and obviously, them saying that was, in my mind, insane. Truly insane. And it just goes to show how stubborn they clearly are being. Hopefully the long-winded, grueling, discussion of them just getting grilled about it for an hour and a half has changed their tone. It seems like they were open to that based on the statement they made after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was one of the craziest things I ever heard coming from a sanctioning body.
So the analogy that they made is hand in hand with your analogy was they essentially said it would be like people driving the speed limit, right? And imagine that, they are the police in this scenario. and the speed limit changes on the road down to 50 miles an hour. They said, imagine we're at that point where the speed limit sign hits. Well, we'll sit there with the radar gun and make sure that when you're coming through, you're going 50 miles an hour. But then after you pass us and there are no cops up there and the speed limit is still 50, the responsibility is on you to continue to comply rather than to drive 50 past the radar and then speed up to 100 in the same way that a paddle would pass at the initial point and then get hotter and hotter after. So I kind of understand what they're saying. Like in an idealistic world, of course, manufacturers should be accountable for making sure their paddles don't break to advantage, right? But at the same time, we're talking about business and money here. And if the market wants more powerful paddles than the testing will allow, then what's to stop a brand from saying, we'll just game the system, make a paddle that passes, and then as soon as it passes after a while, then it'll get more powerful. And sadly, that has become an accepted thing in the market in the past year.
Yeah,
which I hate.
I want to say one clear designation. In the pro scene, it's probably less of an issue because they're switching paddles quite a bit.
Yeah.
But in the amateur scene, it is everything. Because everyone keeps their paddles for, at the very least, a month. And a month of very heavy usage is enough time for any paddle that is going to break in and perform, at a higher rate of power is going to see that by that certain, amount of time. We don't know the number of hits. We don't know the exact amount of hours on a paddle that will, get it to whatever it is, the preferred break-in performance. But it is insanity not to think that this is a very, very important metric to measure to make sure that paddles are staying within.
Yeah, and again, they have said that, since the USAP Media Day and towards the end there, they were like, okay, we're going to have to look into something. Okay, we don't know what that something is in detail just yet. So I think the USA will continue to get the benefit of the doubt. I feel like they've gotten a lot of goodwill and a lot of benefit of the doubt now for a long time. But it's because we want them to succeed, because we want a neutral, biased governing body to run the sport, well. That's what we all want, right? So anyway, so this is the last thing I want to say about the USAP Media Day, okay? Because the PB Core test, we've talked about this. There are very serious concerns about the validity of the results. Meaning we know there have been published public results as well as a lot of confidential results of paddles and their PB Core scores, okay? And it doesn't line up, okay? It doesn't line up with what we know, people who have hit hundreds of paddles, Lewis and I and other reviewers, and even just, regular people who understand what paddles should perform like. These scores are not lining up. You will have control paddles that are very soft and not powerful, subjectively, scoring very high, like near the limit. And you will have subjectively very powerful paddles that everyone would agree are very powerful, scoring very low. And there are some very obvious instances of this. And at this point, it's like, I've done my best to try to understand this test. I even talked to two engineers who are much smarter than me. And I, basically sent them the SOP, the videos and the formulas and said, please help me understand, like, how are the results happening this way? And there were some troubling takeaways. These two different engineers independently both told me, hey man, this part of the formula right here might be causing some serious issues. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but saying roughly that I was very concerned about this test being directly translated from baseball, right? Which USAP has said proudly many times. We don't need to reevaluate the test. The test is great. It's been used in baseball for over 20 years. We pretty much took it directly from baseball. Cool, but this is not a baseball bat, right? So their take is it's all about the collision of a ball, and the physics are the same, whether it's a baseball hitting a bat or a pickleball hitting a paddle, or at least relatively the same, so the score should be the same. Here's my complaint with that. And as someone who you guys know well complains about handles all the time, you will know well that there are many types of handles. There are handles with EVA, foam pallets in them that are squishy. There are fully molded polyurethane handles that are hard, but they're hard plastic essentially. There are fully molded carbon fiber handles that are hard. There are many different types of handles. And you can imagine that if a PB core machine is only holding a paddle here, that this may affect how the paddle moves in this direction, right? Or the type of scores that it would get, especially if that was involved in a formula. So I kind of planted the seeds of this question with a lot of the people who were there at the demo day. And I said, please, ask them about the clamping mechanism. Ask them if they account for different handle types, and how they account for that, right? And here was the quote of the day from USAP. And you can find this online. Someone asked, hey, so whenever you have paddles with different handle configurations, how do you account for that within the PB core machine? Okay, here's the quote, exact quote. We just clamp the shit out of it. End quote.
Oh my God.
I don't know that I can be disappointed because it's kind of what I expected, but my hope was that once it was defined as just clamping the shit out of it, that then that point would be pressed a lot harder and maybe reevaluated. Okay? Maybe that needs to be reevaluated.
God.
So we shall see.
That's some shit
too much
I would
hope.
say.
Yeah, I don't have too much hope that it's going to be reevaluated, and this is something that I have been concerned about for a long time and haven't said publicly. But at this point, after that public response at the media day, I feel like I can't just sit on it anymore. It's like very concerning for me as someone who's involved in R&D and developing paddles. How the hell am I supposed to know how to develop paddles that are, have great playability and are good for the customers and all that, but also will pass this test that seems random in the results?
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Random.
And I know that, all the manufacturers out there can sympathize with that and are feeling that exact pressure. And it's extremely frustrating. So we need some better technical clarity specifically on the PB core test. And of course, if it's meant to test for power, can we make the results line up with how powerful a paddle is or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. If you want an even more in-depth podcast on it, go watch the Pickleball Studio podcast. They have I think it's over an hour where Chris is talking about it, and he does a really good job as usual. So we will not talk about USAP anymore for this podcast. We're going to move on, man, to everybody's favorite section where we just talk about a bunch of paddles, bro. All right. We're going to start first with the 008 Tour. I got a bunch of these in from Selkirk. These the new Tour shape is easily their best shape. It's not even close. It has a very nice long handle. It is elongated, but it's a tiny bit short. I think it's 16.4 by 7.5, if I remember correctly. But handle is pretty solid. I heard Isaac doesn't like it, but I mean, he doesn't really like much of anything. So
the length is good. The bevels are not great.
Yeah. I don't dislike the bevels. I know this bottom of the butt cap is kind of the taper's pretty drastic, which some people don't like, but I don't dislike it.
That doesn't bother me. I didn't like how oval it felt as compared to like octagonal. But it's not horrible. It's not like no. It's not horrible at all.
No, this is arguably, this might be Selkirk's best paddle. 100% foam. I can't remember what the price is. I believe it's like $280 or something like that. And I'll check and see when these come out and put that on the screen for everybody. But I will test these more. I do like this paddle quite a bit. It's not super powerful. I'd say it's very much an all-court paddle. This is the 13 millimeter. It comes in a 16 and a 10 millimeter. So we'll be testing those more. But just know this is promising stuff from Selkirk. They are ahead of the curve.
Nice.
All right. Bloom. the Saga Bloom and the Prism Blooms from Vatic Pro came in. These are hard to get off. They like
the paddle covers.
They don't come quite as high as other ones, so it's hard to get them off. But anyway, played with this paddle a lot the last couple of days. We'll get into that later. But I really like this paddle. The shape is phenomenal. It's super similar to the Neonic Flare Prime X in terms of shape. Maybe just slightly different on the top and bottom corners, but really, really solid paddle. It uses the firmer pallets, so it has a nice handle on it, and is rip spin. As you can see, there's just ball dust everywhere on this bad boy. So, yep.
I want to try that one. I don't have those, though, the blooms.
We're going to have to try to get you those, bro.
Yeah, it's right up my alley, I think,
Pretty solid. Kind of like the Saga Flash and the V7, has good power on dries, not super poppy.
There's potentially the
stupid spin. 14
Saga
millimeter.
Bloom 14. Now that's really right up my alley.
That's very enticing. Yeah, very enticing, especially for someone like you. But we'll talk a little bit more about that paddle later. I really like that one. Not sure when these drop, but they're coming soon. So we both got in the Franklin C45,
There you go.
which everybody seems to be just foaming at the mouth, trying to figure out everything about these paddles.
These released and sold out today, by the way.
Yeah, so these did already go on sale. They won't go on sale again until March.
It was a limited batch, they said.
Have you hit with yours yet?
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
I like the stock grip, by the way.
Yeah, the grip
weird
and the
random
shape
thing
is
to say.
really nice.
But also the
apart.
tack. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. The stock grip is very nice. Yeah, I thought you meant
nice.
just the handle itself. Handle itself is very nice. It does have this slightly firmer EVA foam palette, so it's not the hard PU palettes that you love. But still think this is a great paddle shape in itself, apart from one thing, dude. God,
I know where
they
you're
don't
going.
use the full allowable dimensions. It is a short, elongated paddle or a skinny hybrid, depending on what you want to call it. It is 16.3 by 7.5 inches. 14 millimeter paddle. It looks, I don't know about you, but it almost looks thinner than 14 millimeters.
It does, actually. I should have measured this. I will. I'll measure it, and if it's different, we'll talk about it on the pod. But that wouldn't surprise me. It does look very, very thin, actually. This shape, huh? It just basically is like an elongated, but they just took 0.2 inches off, the top and or the bottom, because the width is exactly as wide as a regular elongated. And as far as aesthetics go, dude, this is a big step up for Franklin. I like their new
very good
F
looking paddle,
logo.
dude.
This is a
Very
cool little matte gloss edge guard. Hopefully no one has a patent on that they spent years developing. Some kind of metallic edge guard.
Oh my God. Anyway, so I played with this paddle. It has quite a bit of pop. It is not for the faint of heart. If you are too trash for a power paddle, you're too trash for this paddle.
Okay.
It doesn't have a ton of power.
Message taken, okay.
It doesn't have a ton of power, but it is ample in terms of power, but does have quite a bit of pop. Gets good spin, feels decent, especially when you put on some perimeter weighting, but it is not a stable paddle.
Yeah, they come in super duper light, so it's going to
be a stable paddle unless you want to lose out on all of the maneuverability. Because of the narrower width, it does not allow you to put, generous amount or a conservative amount of weight on the side and still see a good bump in twist weight. I like to have paddles well above the 7.2 mark. My goal is usually anywhere between 7.4 and 7.8 is my typical twist weight goal, especially with hybrid and standard shape paddles. But this one, I put on 6 grams of tungsten tape, and it did not get me above 6.8 8.5.
You want a mini NERDTOWN?
Unless,
or what?
yeah, go ahead. Well, we talked about this actually on like the first or second episode.
This is a long time ago, but just so people understand, imagine there's a center line running through the paddle, right? From top to bottom. The further that you go away from that center line, the more effective weight will be at adding twist weight and or stability. So let's just take 1 gram. If you add 1 gram here, it, fake number, but let's just say it adds 0.1 twist weight. Still add the same 1 gram, but you add it out here. Now it might add 0.4 twist weight. Again, fake number. But you understand that the weight becomes more effective. But when the paddle is only 7.5 wide, this is as wide as you can go. Which is why once you have an 8-inch wide paddle, like a standard paddle, or even a wide body, you're able to add the same amount of weight, the same 3 grams or whatever your preference is, and get more of a noticeable twist weight and stability gain out here.
Yeah.
So that's why Lewis is saying, like, he would have to add a lot of weight to get the twist weight up high enough, because he can only add it this far out. He can't add it any further out since it's a narrow paddle. And at that point, once you add that amount of weight this high up on the paddle, you're going to increase the swing weight beyond maybe what you want. So it's hard to min-max paddles that are thinner if that's your go-to. If you're looking for max twist weight and minimum or low swing weight.
And to add to that too, which we also talked, the longer the paddle is, the more the top weight affects the swing weight because it's further
same
up.
Concept, but just up instead of sideways.
Yeah, just want to make sure those are 2 very important designations. So anyway, good paddle. It does not have that deep tone that you saw from Georgia and J.W. Johnson.
And Hayden.
That everybody was like,
oh,
what was that?
Yeah.
So that makes me think one of 2 things. And the first is probably the more like they're playing with broken paddles. Or number 2, they're playing with very different paddles. I would like to believe that is not the case, because then they would have to have another certification for that paddle, which I don't know if they do or not. But anyway, it does not have that super deep tone that you heard on the PPAs. So
we'll have to see.
Great paddle nonetheless, super duper maneuverable. All right, we're gonna move on to some upcoming releases. Upcoming next is, hands down, the best power paddles on the market: the 11624, Hirachi X, Vapor, and Pegasus Power. As you can see, Justin has all 3 of those. I have the Vapor right here. I'm going to drop the review on February 7th, so I won't talk too much about these today, but just know that these are my number 1 power recommendation paddles. Justin, would you agree that these are the best power paddles available on the market right now?
Yes, probably, yes. They just do enough of everything, without doing too much of anything. And we've had these for quite a while now, and I've played with all 3, and I've also let other people play with them. So both my Pegasus and Vapor have extensive amount of hours on them from myself and others, and they haven't really changed from stock. So there seems to be no break-in. Yeah, so big props to David and the 11624 for making a floating core paddle, because this does have an extra foam edge in a way that doesn't break in or break down or break or whatever you want to call it. Now, more to be seen, because when I say a lot of hours, I'm talking maybe 20-ish, maybe 20 to 30 hours on each of those. So we will continue to watch them. But I would say that the change from stock is totally normal and like within a margin of error of what you get on any normal like thermoform paddle that kind of loosens up after the first couple hours. So I'm really excited about that, and I feel happy and like proud to recommend that to people when they're saying, hey, I want a power paddle, which one should I get? I'm like, get the one that doesn't break, and has enough power. It's not absurd power, but it's enough, and has a great feel too.
It's
I like
solid.
The feel.
Yeah, very good sweet spots. You'll hear all about it in my review. But anyway, coming up next is the Supercourts from Chorus. They actually have this in another color as well.
I'm getting one
which
of those,
is very cool.
Sure.
So yeah, these are coming out. Is it February 11th?
Yes, the 11th.
Yeah. These we've talked about on previous podcasts. They're solid paddles, good pop, good power, good feel. very solid paddle. Gen
Offered
2
in 3
and
shapes.
Comes in 3 great shapes. So I want to kind of fly through because I don't want us to not have enough time to get through NERDTOWN, which is everybody's favorite segment.
Well, we might keep it quick. But yeah, I just want to say that the second colorway, no one's really seen it. It's a Tron-inspired colorway, and it is on the website, and it will be available at launch. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, the idea with those Supercourts is a little bit more retro-inspired, so you get that creamy beige.
Creamy
beige, and then you
Keep
got
it creamy.
Tronic, the Tron one. I was making an old Greg reference, but very few people will get that. Yeah, creamy beige.
I haven't watched that. Haven't watched that in a while.
Shoe.
All right. Well, we are ready to move on to Net Gains, and we actually have a new sponsor for the Net Gains podcast, our segment. It is Range Fit. Range Fit is an electrolyte company. They provide big electrolyte tubs, or you can get the little packets. I actually have used this quite a bit in the past. I'm kind of a stickler for electrolyte mixes.
Yeah, actually, this is the first thing that you're more nerdy than I am about is electrolytes.
Yeah, so the reason why I like Range Fit a lot, 2 reasons. Number one, their flavors are not like overly like insane and just like loud, if you will. Like the flavors are pretty subtle. Even the salt, flavor is pretty subtle compared to quite a few other brands. But more importantly, the ingredients that they use in here, they provide some of the best value in terms of the amount of electrolytes provided in their packets. So you get a minimum of 700 milligrams of sodium in every single one of your electrolyte mix packets or scoops that you use, and you get 150 grams of magnesium glycinate, you get 1,000 milligrams of chloride, and you get 450 milligrams of potassium. So the most important electrolyte for you to consume is in fact sodium if you are sweating a lot, because that is one of the most common electrolytes that leaves your body when you sweat. So if you are drinking an electrolyte mix that does not have quite a bit of sodium, you're doing it wrong. Use code PURSUIT to save some money when purchasing Range Fit electrolytes. These are very good. Your wife loves them.
Let me give you the new user experience, right? You've been using these for a while. So
yes,
this is, you basically introduced this to me, and then the pod did. So I just got this packet of 18 last week, and there are about 7 left. Okay. And that's because I really like them. They're really good. I specifically like the strawberry kiwi one. There's lemon, lime, and blueberry acai in here. But as it turns out, my wife loves them even more than I do. So we've already had to order a jar or a little tub. So it's going to be probably a staple at our house. And I haven't nerded out on electrolytes, but I can tell you, just as a electrolyte noob, they taste good. And like you said, they're like appropriately salty. They're not overly salty, but it's got enough that you like, ooh, you can taste it. And the flavors are great
there.
Yeah. So
they're
going,
we got
through
3
quick
here: lemon, lime, blueberry acai, and strawberry kiwi. So I think they do have more flavors than this, if I'm not mistaken. But Range Fit, thank you guys for sponsoring the Net Gains segment of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. If you'd like to purchase some of these, you can use code PURSUIT to save you some money at checkout. Link in the description. So what do we have for Net Gains this week? You go ahead and tell us the topic, and I'll kind of run through it.
I don't know it. I don't know the topic. My
you
brain
know the
is
topic?
My brain is mush.
Oh, you lost it?
Okay. You're the topic
Sorry,
leader for Net Gains this week.
Well, the topic today is vanity versus just being consistent.
I didn't know if you were going there.
We have learned this the hard way.
The hardest way.
Justin and I like to look at our strokes and our shots and be like, yeah, that looks really good. But looks don't mean shit if you don't get the ball over and in and be consistent. We played some players who had 4.2 ratings. with some of the ugliest strokes, some of the ugliest drives, some of the ugliest, most awkward dinks, and they kicked our ass.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very humbling experience, an eye-opening experience to remind us that it doesn't matter what you look like when you play. The most important thing is that you are consistent, and consistency is going to win games, not having pretty strokes or looking good and athletic while you're playing.
Right.
So don't try to focus on vanity. Focus on your consistency. This is a huge problem in golf. Like, people have a bad problem with having a vanity swing, a very good looking swing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your swing doesn't matter. Consistency is the most important thing.
That we're not saying that technique doesn't matter, right? Technique is obviously
of
important.
Course not.
But we're talking about like the everyday Joe like us at our level. Consistency, and this is so obvious to say out loud, but consistency is king, and it's more important than having perfect technique if we're talking about pure performance, like such as a tournament. And while Lewis and I get coaching, watch video, try to perfect our technique, all that stuff, it doesn't that doesn't pay in a tournament. You know what pays is the crazy racquetball dude who can hit lobs in the corner 10 out of 10 times. Mm-hmm. And they're just the ugliest things ever, but they work. At this tournament, we had something said to us a couple times that I'm pretty sure it's kind of like a backhanded compliment. I didn't know how to take it. We would come off the court, and then other people who were in the tournament, maybe in a different pool or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And then we'd be like, "Oh, we lost again," And people would regularly say, "Really? I saw you guys playing. Y'all look so good."
Time, dude.
And I'm like, "Well, we're not. All right.
Yeah, we're not good.
Anyway,
we just have kind of smooth mechanics.
Kind of, even. Yeah.
And then just don't look where the ball goes, because it's not good. It's not going where it's supposed to go.
We can hit the ball hard, of course. We're like moderately athletic, so maybe people just look over when they hear a loud bang and realize we hit an overhead winner, but it's like, okay, if that's all you see, then sure, we're great
players. And then we grab
but...
the ball and say, 2-13-2.
Exactly. Oh man.
Boy. Anyway, so guys, don't put too much stock into how you look when you play. Put much more stock into producing consistency. Trust us, we're professionals at losing. Thank you for attending Net Gains. We're gonna move on to everybody's least favorite, about to be everybody's favorite segment again. New week, new main. Sponsored by Bodhi Pickleball. If you're looking for overgrips, tungsten tape, looking for edge tape, wristbands, towels, and other pickleball accessories, go check out bodhipickleball.com. You can utilize code PURSUIT to save 15% off some of our favorite pickleball accessories, especially grips. So thank you, Bodhi, for sponsoring New Week, New Main. Justin, can you please go first? New week, new main. What do we have, bro?
Okay.
You said you were going to flirt.
Here we go.
Is he lying? Is he all talk?
New week, no main. I don't know.
What, bro?
I don't have a main. I alluded to this earlier. I'm taking some time away from tournaments. I'm working on some stuff, actual work and testing, as well as in my own game. And so this is the perfect time for me to flirt around a little. Maybe test some paddles and see where I fall. Maybe if I'm going to change. Of course, I was locked in with the Neonic Flare Prime X up to the tournament. Saying. And this is by no means saying anything bad about that paddle, because I might still just go back to it because I think it's amazing.
Paddle kicks ass. I played with it in 3.5.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you're going to have to mention that. But because I was so locked in, your boy's got to roam free now and check out some other stuff for a while. And it's only really been a few days since the tournament. I just had a couple days of testing, so I haven't landed on anything yet. Flirt with a few things, but there's still too many other ones to test for me to reliably tell you anything. So it's new week, no main for me.
New week, no main. Wow. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. Don't worry, guys. I'm here to salvage everything. I'm here to save the day as usual.
Yeah,
new week, new main.
As usual.
You're expecting me to pick up the Invader, which actually it's not even over here.
Oh, wow,
You're probably expecting me to pick up the Invader. But new week, new main. We are back, baby. We are officially back. New week, new main. We're hitting the Vatic Saga Bloom 16 millimeter paddle. Now, you guys may be wondering, Lewis, what the hell are you thinking? You've been playing some of your best pickleball with the Invader. And I will say, you are absolutely right. I am a head case. And that's why I want to check out this Saga Bloom. Mainly because it is a little bit more forgiving. And we all know Justin and I suck at pickleball. So we need forgiving paddles. And I found myself really enjoying just super maneuverable paddles. So this checks two boxes. With its standard shape, 16 by 8, it is more forgiving than the Invader in terms of its off-center shots, and it is a little quicker in terms of maneuverability. This setup is 113, and I think it was 7.4 or 7.6 twist weight. But I have 6 inches of half a gram per inch Bodhi tungsten tape on here. And actually, crazy, I'm trying the dry grip, and I'm actually really enjoying it from Bodhi.
Really?
So, yeah, I would check these out. These are really solid. I was sweating up a storm today. It was like 81 degrees today in Louisiana. And
I'm not a dry grip user.
I didn't think I was either, but I might be. We'll
Maybe
see.
in the summer.
I mean, that could change. Yeah. But new week, new main is back. I am officially on the market. Next week, I'll probably
You've been flirting because you would text me every single day a different paddle. Oh, this one. Oh, this one. Not only this, guys, by the way, he played the 4-0 tournament with the Invader and then changed mid-tournament, played the 3-5 tournament with the Neonic Flare.
Not mid-tournament.
Well,
but a change
between division. Brackets.
Yeah.
So he went new week, new main in the middle of
I needed
a tournament.
An excuse if we lost. And I got it, baby. I got that scapegoat. But anyway, new week, new main's back. Next week, after this tournament that I'm playing in with the Saga Bloom, you'll probably hear me say, the Invader's back. But we shall see. I really like this Bloom Saga. But I keep wanting to call it the Bloom Flash. But anyway, we're here. All right, new week, new main for me. New week, no main for Justin. But NERDTOWN will always be here. Mayor, take us. Let's go. What do we got?
Okay, we're gonna go quick. All right, this is gonna be a 30,000 foot view on full foam course. Okay, because you're obviously seeing quite a few. True Foam, Selkirk 008, the Flick from Body Helix, and there will be more. Oh, Diadem just announced their blue core. There's going to be more, period. I already know.
Look at these foamies, baby.
So definitely 2025 going to be the year of more foam. You know, it may not be all full foam, but it's going to be a lot. And that's not a bad thing. But here's what I mainly want to say. There are some misconceptions about foam because of the type of foam that has been used in pickleball up to this point, which has mainly been EVA or like expanding foam, like your edge foam, which is like an open cell expanding, like polyurethane foam most of the time, sometimes also EVA foam. But foam in general is such a large umbrella term that just describes a type of material in the same way that you would say metal, you know, but when you say metal, you could be talking about gold, copper, titanium, aluminum, steel, iron, all these things that have drastically different properties, right? But they all are metal. They all fall under that umbrella. Obviously, the same thing can be said for plastics, but foam is the same way. I think people know this, but that doesn't always apply when you're thinking about paddles. You hear someone say full foam paddle, and then you immediately go to, oh, is this going to be like the Diadem Vice or, you know, any other really bouncy, really powerful foam paddle that breaks? I'm not saying the Vice breaks, but, you know, that's what people go to. And that's not the case because we need to understand, like I said, there are many types of foam. Okay, so that being said, I'm not going to dive into specific foam formulations and different types of foam in this one. Like I said, this is going to be the 30,000 foot view. But I did want to say that regardless of the material, the foam material, there are a few qualifying characteristics that any foam has to have to even be applicable for a pickleball paddle. The main one being the density, right? Because density is essentially weight, how much something weighs over a given area, right? Or volume, really. So imagine this paddle. This one's not full of foam, but imagine that it is full of foam, right? You have this 14 millimeter thickness and this entire area. So this entire volume of this paddle would be full of foam. Well, how much the foam weighs is of utmost importance, because if it's too dense, then this becomes a 10-ounce paddle, basically unplayable, right? If it's not dense enough, it will be too light and also likely not structurally strong enough to, so that it will break or it will deflect too much. And controlling density is essentially the main thing, or kind of first on the list that you're going to look for when you're building a paddle with full foam. You're going to say it needs to be this density or fall within this range. Otherwise, it needs to be supplemented with another material in order for it to be structurally sound enough. So all this to say is you're going to see a lot of different foam cores coming out, and they're not all equal. Like even within the ones that we already know, like the Carbon True Foam and the Selkirk 008, those are out in public, and people can play with them back to back. They play totally differently. They feel differently. They sound differently. They're different types of foam. And I can tell you pretty much that the True Foam is a higher density foam. And they've said this themselves. That's why the foam has cutouts in it. I'm sure you've seen the cores. It has voids. There are some around the outside, and those are to promote flex. And then there are some holes in the center around the sweet spot as well, and those are to reduce weight. Overall, though, they had to reduce weight, and those paddles come in, around average weight. So you can imagine if those voids were full and it was 100% foam core, that would be a very heavy paddle. Whereas the Selkirk 008, we've seen the x-rays, it's full foam. There are no voids, and it comes in very much lighter. So that is clearly a lower density foam and likely a different material altogether. So the other things that you need to qualify a foam by are the compressive strength. So essentially, keeping it from smashing in this way on the face. That's going to, number one, help it pass testing. Number two, keep it from being too powerful. Well,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And, number three, just give you a structurally sound paddle that isn't going to break down. Most of the time when foams are low density, they have low compressive strength. That's because there are a ton of air and or gas bubbles within the structure. And over time, those air and or gas bubbles will go from being round to being flat. So you lose the structure. Easy example of this is your shoes. You get new running shoes. They're cushy. They're tall. Wear them for 6 months, especially running them. Now, all of a sudden, they're multiple millimeters shorter, and they're not nearly as soft and springy anymore because you've essentially compressed all of the air and gas bubbles out of that foam. So same thing can happen within a paddle. That's why the density needs to be high enough to prevent that from happening and to maintain enough compressive strength. Now, there are other strength metrics you need to have in a foam, like tensile strength to keep it from tearing. Obvious example of that is something like, polystyrene, like stuff that you will see, that foam, you can just basically crumble it and tear it. And it's also super light. So that doesn't have enough shear strength and static strength and compressive strength altogether. Let's see. Beyond that, just something to look out for. There are different ways to make foam, right? You can take your base polymer or material or whatever, and there are different ways to foam it up pretty much. And it can be done with CO2 and pressurizing gas into a material that then makes it foam. You can make supercritical foam, which I won't go into too much detail here, but you should Google that if you're curious. It's actually kind of a newer and better way, and better for the environment way to make foam. And a lot of shoe brands are starting to use it. So a lot of like fast running shoes, you'll see they're using supercritical foams. So we might see some, yeah, I know, what a crazy name. Might see some more of that. And I think what you're absolutely certainly going to see are beaded foams. And these you can think of as exactly as it sounds. They make the foam into tiny little beads, and then they're able to put those beads into a form or any shape they want, and then they heat them, and the beads pretty much melt together and then become a solid. But even when you look at it as a solid form in the end, you can see like the little ovals and little beads. This is just like polystyrene or any of the packing stuff that you've seen in your boxes. When you order electronic and it has like the perfectly shaped ones, but you can see all the little beads. So that's kind of the things to look out for full foam cores. Like I said, this is a 30,000 foot view. There's a lot more details to go into, and we are going to see a lot of different foams, and we'll have to kind of test, which ones have the best playability and which ones have the best feel. And it's going to be very interesting to see which are more successful on the market. But yeah,
foam is the future. Whether it stays that for a long time or not, it is.
I think
it's
foam's
definitely going to be a material we see a lot
up to this point because it's been used incorrectly a lot up to this point. But
I'm very impressed with the True Foam. Very impressed with the 008.
Yeah.
I think that if they both do in theory not core crush, it is the future of pickleball cores until there's something better.
Imagine if people were making, something really important like houses or anything out of like tin metal or like really thin aluminum, like aluminum cans. And then anytime the wind blows too hard or whether they just crumple and there's holes in the walls, they'd be like, metal sucks. Metal's horrible for building houses or buildings with. That's the same way of saying a lot of these crappy foam paddles that have been breaking doesn't mean foam is bad. It means it's probably the incorrect foam used in the incorrect way. But we're learning as an industry and people are learning. And we're probably going to see correct foams used in the correct way. And there's a lot of potential there. And I say probably going to see, you are going to see. So looking forward to that. Okay, so like I said, that was 30,000 foot view. We may dive into more details at some point, but honestly, it's kind of convoluted and it's very detailed. And at a certain point, I'm not smart enough to really hit all the main points.
Me neither, bro. Shocking. Who'd have thought? All right. Well, anything else you want to say before we sign off, bro?
No. I'm still going to ask for more Q's to A. I want to do a Q&A. So leave us some questions. Right. I've been gathering a few. There's been a couple in the comments the past few episodes. I gather them. But we definitely need more before we can do a full segment. And sneak peek shoe segment. Someone asked, why didn't we do that? We didn't do it again. I want to. It's not because I don't want to. It's because I don't have any shoes to review right now that we haven't already reviewed because I packed all three of those ASICs into one episode. But hopefully we'll get some new shoes maybe sent to us and some things we can go over because I'd like to do that some more.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we still suck at pickleball. This is the Pickleball Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, here with my co-host, Justin from Pickleball, etc. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know in the comment section below. Until the next one, we will see you guys. Peace.